This week we're talking Super 8. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and before we start, I'd just like to remind you all to please subscribe if you haven't already. We do videos on music production, video production, editing, lenses, all that good stuff. So we upload every Friday, so please subscribe with notifications on to stay updated on our latest videos. Super 8. I haven't really touched on this before because I've only just discovered it. Obviously I know Super 8's been around since sort of the 60s and 70s, and I've never really been that fussed about shooting with film until recently. I've shot film, film photography before in the past, back when I was a kid and in A-levels as well, shot with film, and it was interesting, but I always wanted to shoot digital. But in the last couple of years I've been kind of much more interested in older photographic and video technology. Obviously did a video earlier this year on a really old Hi8 camcorder, and I was really fascinated by the fact that I had to capture the image like in real time. I'm really interested in old style vintage lenses. I think they're just really cool and I love the look that you get off them, especially on good old GH5. But recently I watched a video on Super 8 and I was actually quite amazed at how high the quality actually is, considering the film strip's tiny compared to a full frame 35mm. I think it's a sort of 6 odd times crop or something like that, so it's quite small. But I've seen some 4K scans recently which were surprisingly detailed. One of the most amazing things about it is the dynamic range you can get from it. It's sort of something like 15 stops or something, and if you overexpose it's not a big deal. And I just love the look you get off it. I love the colors, I love the kind of feel, I love the fact that instead of adjusting the shutter speed to sort of correct for exposure, it adjusts the aperture, so everything has a consistent look, because you're not really going to be getting a lot of shallow depth of field with Super 8. So I really like all the aspects of it, and I'm just fascinated by the fact that I'm filming onto something physical, something tactile and tangible, and the fact that you've only got 2 to 3 minutes to play with is actually really exciting and is really going to make me hopefully think about what I'm shooting. So this actually all started off a few weeks ago when a photographer friend of mine gave me some 8mm and Super 8 cameras. He was just going to get rid of them, he had no use for them, and thought of me, and I thought, do you know what, I'd like to give it a go. So I ended up with 2 Bolex cameras, and the first one is a standard 8 camera. So this is a wind-up one, I think probably from the 60s. It's something my granddad actually would have had as well, and shoots 18 frames a second or 12, or it can do bursts of 40 frames a second. I don't know how any of the light meter stuff works. I think it's quite an old style technology, even if there is, I don't know too much about it, to be honest, other than it's all mechanical, so you've got to load the film properly like this, rather than just shove a cartridge in. The second camera I got, which is what I was really excited about, was this. This is a Bolex 160 macro zoom, and it looks so cool. Proper top loading film that goes in here. It's a separate battery for the light meter, which is one of those coin batteries. It's got things like 24 frames a second, which huge thing for me. It can zoom from 8.5mm to 30mm. Got a little focus button here. You can sort of lock exposure with this button here, but you can't fully manually control it. But I love the fact that it's kind of like a mix between sort of one of those classic style Panavision cameras and also like a TV camera one. So it's got that kind of flip up lens thing here. But unfortunately, there was a couple of problems with it. So I was really excited. I ordered my film. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I tested batteries in it. All seemed to work fine. The zoom was working. The shutter was working. The first thing I noticed was the reflex prism is loose. So I kept having to tap it each time, and it would kind of sit into place, but not really. So I can see through it now. But a lot of the time, it will just disappear, which is really annoying. But then after testing it a little bit, I just was checking to make sure the filter worked properly. I was checking to make sure it was opening properly, and then suddenly it jammed, and I haven't been able to unjam it at all. That was a huge shame because it was in great working order. It came with all the accessories and a light and everything, but I can't use it. So that was a huge disappointment, and I'd already ordered these, and I was like, right, what the hell am I going to do? So I went on to eBay and bought another one. The new one is the one I'm going to use, and as far as I know, it works fine. This is the Cosina SM-2000. And as far as I can tell, everything seems to work. I checked with the seller. The only thing he hadn't done is tested it with a full thing of film, but he tested it with like an old dud one, and it seemed to wind film fine. And I have tested it as well, just with the Sharpie tests and then running it a few frames. It seems to run fine. Light meter seems to run pretty well. Again, it's one of those ones with the coin batteries, which is really annoying because it means they don't last very long. The old ones were mercury. They're really hard to come by. There's new, I think they're called like air cell ones, which I bought, and they don't last more than a few months, which is really irritating. But the cool thing about this one, it has quite a few more features. It's a lot newer, and it has quite a few more features than the 160. So firstly, it's got power zoom like that one, but it's got 2-speed. You've got complete manual control, which is huge, so I can actually use the light meter to kind of get an idea of what aperture I should be shooting at, and then I can actually lock it in with the manual one and get the exact thing I'm looking for. The lens as well goes from 8mm to 64, so that's about double the length of zoom that the other one had. You've got things like backlight control, you've got a fade option which will slowly close the aperture. You've also got a battery indicator, so I can see both seem to be absolutely fine. You've got slow motion, which I believe again is either 36 or 38 frames a second. And all in all, it's a great looking camera. Oh, and also you can lock the shoot as well. You can actually lock, which is really good, so I can actually leave it running and go and run into frame basically. And I'm slouching quite badly. I'm really excited to try this out. So I'm going to take this with me across to Kent to visit Dan, and Neil's going to be there as well. And I'm going to make a little kind of home movie of this and see how it goes. I've got ideas. I've got 2 of these, so I've got an idea for the other roll. Without further ado, let's cut to Kent. Right, so apologies in advance for this outro. I was going to do a proper studio setup, but they are doing roadworks right outside the flat, and it's just super noisy, and I've just managed to find a bit of time when they're not doing anything, but they'll probably fire up in a second. But yeah, I'm really, really impressed with the footage that came out. For some reason, I just expected it wasn't going to look all that great. I just didn't trust it, because obviously you can't watch it back. But I gotta say, big part of that, I think, is down to the fact that the Cosina camera was fantastic. And also big shout out to Gauge Film in the UK. Anyone who does Super 8 film, certainly in the UK, but I think they do stuff outside the UK as well. They'll know that like Gauge Film is just, they're just so good. But yeah, it was also quite interesting comparing it to the GH5 B-roll footage. Obviously GH5, amazing camera, but one of the things that amazes me more is the fact that the camera I've got is sort of 50 years old, something like that. And the fact that I can still get a pretty incredible image off it all these years later is a testament to the fact that really good mechanical cameras like that, there's a reason why they stand up to the test of time. I know I'm going to be using it again. It's obviously quite costly, which is the biggest drawback. I don't really mind the fact that you only get 2.5 minutes. It's more just the general cost of doing Super 8 for me is not cheap. But yeah, no, really enjoyed doing it, and really glad it came out good. Can't wait to shoot the next cartridge. I'm going to be shooting a short film with a friend from school, so really looking forward to that. So yeah, more on that coming. I'll probably do a review on the camera after all that's done. I don't think there's anything more to say. Right, well, see you in the next video, and yeah, goodbye.